Welcome to Be Truly Heard with me, coach and voice expert Anne Leatherland. If you're a woman in business looking to speak with authority, warmth and authenticity, this is the podcast for you. We'll explore valuable personal growth strategies alongside vocal skills, so you can overcome confidence barriers and communicate what's inside. Your voice matters. It's time to be truly heard. Hello and welcome to Be Truly Heard. Today we're going to be thinking about waking your voice up. But I want to start with a question. What would happen if your favourite famous athlete or sports person went straight out and played full tilt for several hours without any preparation whatsoever? I think you know the answer. They would have fatigue, low performance, and possibly do themselves some damage. So why is it that so many people think that it's okay to do that when they're using their voice and getting up to speak? Is it because we can't see our voice, do you think, or the organs that go into making it? Or is it because we just take it for granted? We've always had it, so therefore we don't really notice until it's gone away. It's important to warm up. That's where I'm going today. If you want to own the space, take up the space, have people listen to you and be truly heard, your voice needs to be on top form. So today I'll be looking at what warming up actually does, why we need it and how to do it. And I'll even lead you through some simple exercises that will make a difference. So stick with me. If you use your voice a lot or with any intensity, then you are actually a professional voice user. And in a way, a vocal athlete. I'm sure I've said this before somewhere, but it's worth saying again, because I don't think people listen to it very often. Using your voice is like running or any other sport. Before you do it, you need to gently stretch to get those muscle fibres warm. If you do exercise on a cold set of muscles, then you're just asking for problems. You need to move around to get the blood flowing to the tissues and to some extent raise your heartbeat. Now, you might be thinking, using my voice isn't like running or playing tennis or playing football or whatever it is you like to do. No, but speaking in meetings, speaking in presentations, or even just speaking to an important client on the phone is something that raises our adrenaline, and moving around helps to disperse excess adrenaline. The heart rate will go up a little bit because we're using a sort of enhanced version of us for those situations. Otherwise, everything's going to fall flat. If you want to take up space and own the space, own the room, and really be heard, then I think that's important. I said in the first episode of this series that voice isn't just one thing. It's not just about the voice box, the larynx there in the throat. It's also about the breathing system, the big body muscles, your abdominal wall, and of course the larynx and the vocal folds themselves. Add to that your ability to focus. Let's go back to the sports people. They don't just go in blindly and play. At top level, what do? They do a lot of mindset work. They know who they are as people and how being under pressure will affect them. It's about thoughts, yes, but it's also about feelings and knowing how they will respond and being able to deal with that. So that's part of warming up as well. It's getting ready for the task that you're going to undertake. And the warm-up needs to be suitable for you and for your way of life. So there's a question of when to do it and how to do it. People will often say to me, "Oh, I haven't done a warm up because I didn't have time." Did you have time to get up, brush your teeth, have a shower, come downstairs, make a coffee, do what you need to do before you start work? The answer's probably yes, unless you overslept. Let's face it. We do the things that we prioritise. How do you remember, for instance, to brush your teeth in the morning? Well, you remember because your toothbrush is there in the bathroom with your toothpaste, and you just do it, and then eventually it becomes a habit and you do it on autopilot. So, what if you could habit stack and actually make your vocal warm up part of that beginning of the day? A lot of people like to do a bit of vocal work in the shower because the steam from the shower actually helps to get some moisture onto the vocal folds, but you don't have to do it then. You could have something that reminds you to do your warm-up. It could be a note next to the kettle so that when you get downstairs, you actually think, oh, right, I'm about to have a cup of tea or coffee and I've not done my vocal warm-up yet. I would say first thing in the morning, when you've just got over that initial grogginess, is a perfect time to try, because later on in the day you get busier, it's easier to forget. And anyway, what's the point of doing a warm-up when you've already started speaking for the day? And that's the point, really. A warm-up is there just to get the voice going, to literally get those muscles warmed up, so that you don't do any damage or you don't have any problems further down the line. So how? Well, we've thought about just tacking it on to something you already do. I mean, it might be that you see your toothbrush and you think, when I've brushed my teeth, I'll do my vocal warm-up. But it doesn't matter what it is. But for how long and how? I'm going to say 5 minutes to start with. Or it can, once you know how to do it, be done in even less time. But I'm going to go through some simple exercises. They're very general, that will help you to get your voice going for the day. By the way, if you're listening to this in the car, don't do this in the car or operating machinery or anything. Just listen through and have a go when you can concentrate. So we're going to start with some efficient breathing. And the best way to get a breath in is to get a good breath out. So I usually get people to do a bit of a leaky beach bowl noise, a PSH, psh, and keep that going until you get to the end of the breath. At that point, I want you to concentrate on just letting your lower tummy go. Now, I'm assuming here that you're not going to push your chest down to get that sound out. I really want you to be aware of that. And if you find that you're doing that, put a hand on your tummy and instead just guide your lower tummy in really low down to add a little bit of support from underneath to get that air out. Psh, so the tummy's moving in as the air comes out. And again, psh, all the way through until you get to the end of the breath, and then you let go of the tummy and more air comes in automatically. Now, this is something that does take a bit of practice, and you might need a bit of help to know exactly how to do it. But I think if you just follow those instructions, one hand on the lower tummy, and I do mean quite low down, below the navel there. In fact, put your thumb on your navel and have your fingers pointing down, still in touch with the abdominal wall. And guide that tummy in as you make that PSH sound. Psh. It's not a violent push or pull. We're just allowing the tummy to move in underneath. So it helps to get that air out and get that sound out. Now that, of course, isn't a voiced sound, is it? So we're going to put voice in now, and you can use a Z or a V, so that's a Z or a V, to make the sound. I did an earlier podcast actually called Finding Your Voice, where I'm using this technique, so you might want to go back and have a look at that as well. It was quite early on, but worth a look if you want a bit more detail on this. But we'll just keep it simple for now. Keep your hand on your tummy with your fingers pointing down and your thumb near the navel, and let's make that Z or V sound. You'll figure out for yourself which one's the best for you. And zzz, guiding the tummy in gently, zzz, and let go. More air comes in all by itself. That's what we're aiming for. And of course the Z sound, because it's working with the voice, you're making a voiced sound with the vocal folds, is a good way of getting those warmed up. The main thing is that we're not pushing down the chest, we're just getting those vocal folds going. It's not a lot of effort, it's just very gentle. Zzz, just enough to make the sound. So we're not trying to force this out in any way. Guard against biting your lip, doing a very heavy V or Z sound. Next, I want you to try this little exercise. So we're going to use the tongue for this one. And I want you to just move your tongue all round your mouth. I'm doing it now. That's quite funny. And feel your teeth and actually imagine that you're brushing your teeth with your tongue. All the way round. What's this about? Well, we talk a lot and the tongue is one of the main organs of articulation, if not the main one. If you think about it, if we make an ah, it doesn't become anything else until we move our tongue and start to make consonants to go with it. So just to get the tongue working, this is a nice one as well. Stick your tongue out between your teeth as if you're going to say the sound th, th, as in the word the. Th. And you can feel a little stretch in the back of the tongue when you do this one. Th. Then just move the tongue back inside the mouth, being aware not to let it settle back and down. Loosening the jaw, this is an important one. We can get tense during the day and very often grab onto these big muscles in the jaw, the masseters. And I'm just going to do a little gentle massage up. Nearly knocked my glasses off then. Just gently up. Be careful not to push too hard. And you can do that about 10 times. I'm not doing it 10 times now because of timing, but there you go. Another one you can do is to get your knuckles and get those into the masseter firmly, but not too hard. We're just trying to loosen things up a bit. Get rid of any excess holding that might be there because we've had a bad day or whatever. By the way, if you have a clicky jaw, or you have a tendency to grind your teeth, just be careful doing these. And again, you can always ask your dentist or your doctor for advice, but don't overdo it. It's just to get that muscle softened up. The lips and the face. This is fun. We can make funny faces on this one. And you can do an ooh-wah, 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 ooh-wah. Or something we call the 5 wows. Wow, 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 wow. It really gets those muscles working. Let's move on to consonants. We've got 3 sounds here, a P, a T and a K. But in actual fact, those sounds don't have voice with them. P, T, K. They're just made by letting little bursts of air out once we've made a stop somewhere in the mouth. P happens at the front with the lips. T happens with the tongue just behind the front teeth. And K happens at the back with the tongue meeting the soft palate. P, T, K. Let's add voice to those, do exactly or more or less the same thing, and we get b, d, g, b, d, g. And then you can put them together. P, t, k, b, d, g, p, t, k, b, d, g. When you get good at it, you can go quickly, etc. I said more or less the same for the voiced ones because depending on our accents and the way we speak, we may place things a little bit differently in terms of the tongue and the gum ridge for the d sound or the b sound in terms of the effort we use at the lips. But generally, the movements are the same. We start at the front, b, d, g, and move to the back with the g. Finally, let's get the range going, and I'm going to get you to puff out your cheeks a little bit and do a just up and down. I know that sounds a bit weird, and it probably looks even weirder, but you don't have to have anybody watching you. So these are just some simple exercises you can do to get your voice going. You need to practice doing them first so that you know what you're doing and notice that you're not using excess energy or putting yourself under strain doing them. And then you can get through those fairly quickly. I'll put a little guide in the programme notes anyway so that you can remember what they are. Finally, I want you to think about warming up for the task that you're going to be doing. For instance, if you're going to be doing phone calls all day or Zoom, then that's a bit different to if you need to go out some point in the evening and address a large room. And even then, it depends whether you have a microphone or whether you don't. So the exercises that you'll do to set you up for those things might be different. And that's a bit beyond what I'm doing here. I'm just giving you some general things to get your voice going at the beginning of the day. There is a very real difference between warming up the voice, by the way, and then doing exercises that extend it further. If we go back to the athlete thing again, we start with the warm-up, then we do some things that are a bit harder, and then we can go off to our task. So you'll need to do different things for different occasions or tasks, and that really needs a bit of guidance from somebody who can see what it is that you're doing and help you with it. I hope that's given you some insight into why warming up is important anyway, and how you can start to incorporate this into your own routine. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them. So if you'd like to explore, then drop me a line at Anne, with an E, at anneleatherland.co.uk, and I'll get back to you. That's it for this week. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Be Truly Heard. If something landed with you today, share it with a friend or leave a review. It really helps more women to find their voice. Want to go deeper? Join my email list for exclusive tips, resources and invitations to events. You'll find the link in the show notes. Until next time, remember, your voice is powerful. Let's make sure it's truly heard.